If you've been enjoying our podcast as much as we have and hope that we continue past 50 episodes, here's your chance. Here's your chance to help make that happen. By becoming a Patreon subscriber, not only will you help the Little House on the Prairie 50th Anniversary podcast to live on, but you'll also get exclusive content just for you.
Here's what's in store for you. Join monthly Q&A sessions where you can ask us about anything. Whether it's about our work, personal interests, or advice on your own projects, we're here to connect and share.
Enjoy unique content created specifically for Patreon subscribers, including bonus segments from our shows.
You'll have a say in what we create, and you'll have a voice in future content.
Benefit from exclusive discounts on merchandise and entries into special giveaways. It's our way of saying thank you for your support.
Receive personalized shout-outs in videos, podcasts, or social media posts.
Because your support on Patreon allows us to dedicate more resources to creating the content that you love.
You could join the Little House 50th Anniversary podcast community on Patreon and become a Prairie patron for just $5 a month. We thank you so much for your continued support, and we cannot wait to share our ongoing journey with you on Patreon. Stay tuned for our launch date.
We are extremely grateful for the support of VisitSimiValley.com and the city of Simi Valley's belief in Little House on the Prairie and their support of the Little House 50th Anniversary podcast.
Discover the charm of Simi Valley, California, the home of the prairie. Visit Simi Valley, where adventure meets history and the spirit of the prairie comes alive. Explore the Ronald Reagan Presidential Library, step aboard Air Force One, enjoy stunning hikes, and savor delicious local cuisine. Whether you're here for a weekend getaway or a family vacation, Simi Valley offers something for everyone and is only 30 minutes from Los Angeles. Plan your visit today and experience the best of Simi Valley. Go to visitsimivalley.com for more details. Your adventure awaits in Simi Valley.
Hi, Patreon people. Hi, Bonnet Heads. This is Pamela Bob, your host. This is a very special episode, I believe, because we're doing this Patreon, our monthly Q&A, like you do, but we're actually going to release this on Thursday also as a little teaser to show people what we do on Patreon. So anyway, hi, I'm Pamela Bob. I'm your host. I'm here with, as you know, our prairie bitch, Alison Arngrim, and our hashtag imaginary boyfriend, Dean Butler. And they both have had some extraordinary weekends that we're going to delve into this.
Yes.
Pretty soon. We're gonna have a little chat, and then we are gonna get to your questions. I promise. But we'll get right to it. So, should we start with Alison? What do you want to do? Do you want to start with you or with Alison?
Oh yeah, no. I think let's find out. I mean, Alison has been to FanX. She's been in the hub of celebrity.
She's been in the
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So what happened there, Alison?
Well, it was wild. I mean, okay, this weekend, basically, you went to the 1800s and I went to like the galaxy of Andromeda in the year 3000. I went to the future, you went to the past.
And I went to the past.
I was hanging out with LeVar Burton from Star Trek and the cast of Twilight and all these people, and you were in Laura's house. It's like, woo!
Yeah.
That's right.
Exactly.
I went to this thing called FanX. I had been to Fanboy. I had been to many things, but this was FanX. And I remember I was told, I said, is it big like Fanboy? And they said, no, it's like 3 times that size. I was like, oh no, what have I gotten myself into? It's huge. It is so huge. It was at the Salt Palace. I didn't know there was such a thing. A Salt Palace of Salt Lake City in Utah.
Oh, wow.
So freaking huge. Okay, giant convention center that takes up several city blocks, and it's all 3 floors of it. It was ginormous, and I had this enormous booth thing next to Melissa Gilbert, who was right next to me. Although it was so big, we had space between us, and so we told people, yes, they separated us so we won't fight.
Are you serious? You weren't seated next to each other?
He said, well, you're right next to each other. We said,
everyone has space
she's way over there, so we don't fight. And we called each other names and stuff. I actually called her butt face the first day. We were making up names for each other. We were terrible. So we're having a lovely time and being like schoolgirls. And she texted me as I'm on my way over saying, They have gourmet food in the green room, and they have oxygen therapy, a massage therapist, and puppy cuddling stations. And I said, I don't know what. She's like, get over here now. She did not make this up. At the green room at FanX, if you go, and Mel Gibson was there, Linda Hamilton, Katie Seagal, C-3PO, everybody from Twilight. I mean, it was off the charts, bananas. They had a green room where there was an omelet bar in the morning. I had spinach and mushroom cheese in my, all kinds of food. But downstairs, because it was 2 floors of green room, was not only free swag. Oh, yeah, I got a backpack and a thing and a purse and some sunglasses. They had a thing you get oxygen, put up your nose. You could get vitamin B, a massage, various weird things. And I got the oxygen, didn't get the puppies. They had puppies. It was Paws. It was this place where they had these dogs that were up for adoption. They were adorable, and they wanted the celebrities. Yeah. Dogs wanted to play, so the celebrities could play with the dogs. And then they were trying to take them. Melissa was going to take home all the dogs. We stopped her.
Of course,
but I did play with the puppy, and me and Linda Hamilton got picture taking care of 2 very elderly, sweet little dogs that were very old and shaky because they take care of the little elderly dogs that need homes too. It was fabulous. So there were doggies and omelets. And the people who run it are terribly nice and kept coming to our tables, see if we need anything. And LeVar Burton is a bonnet head to beat the band. Geordie, Reading Rainbow, yes.
I am telling you, you better work your magical new connections, girl, because I want LeVar on our podcast. That's it.
Twilight.
I'm gonna manifest that. Yeah.
If he
loves you so much.
He loves me. He loves us all. And I love him. And he's delightful. And apparently the boys from Twilight, Peter Fasinelli and the other Twilight guys, big bonnet heads, giant, I'm not worthy, I love Nellie Olson and stuff. So the Twilight people love the prairie, as do the Star Trek people. And everybody, even C-3PO and Gollum, they all knew who I was. They're all into. They are in the prairie zone. Yeah. And then you were in Laura's house. You were in the house that wasn't even done when we were there.
Yeah, that's right. So we've all been to many times. We've all been to Rocky Ridge Farm, where the farmhouse is, and the barn, and the rock house, and all of that. But the place that we hadn't been in until we were there briefly last May was Laura's house on the main street of Mansfield. And when you say the main street, it's a little 2-lane road. It's the main street in Mansfield. And there is a very famous picture of Laura standing on that deck of the porch of this house in a long dress. She's a younger woman at that point. She moved to this house. She and Almanza moved into this house in 1898. Well, when we saw it, it was in the middle of a pretty heavy duty restoration. Well,
it was all tore up. There was nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, it was, torn open down to the studs. They were really redoing it. Well, coming in the door, and I'll be posting some pictures of what it all looked like. They really did a pretty amazing job. I mean, it's a wonderful combination of current day so all the modern appliances, very good lighting, I mean, just rock solid, airtight house with a combination of the beadboard walls and just very nice colors and some very pretty antiques in the house. And it's for a tiny little house, it's surprisingly spacious because of the tall ceilings. It has 10-foot ceilings.
Yeah.
And it really, really comfortable. And it's, of course, one of the things that is for someone who is coming into that space, it is literally less than 100 yards from the main railroad line where the trains are going by 24/7 in one direction or the other. These huge trains. Now, the double pane glass in the house minimizes the sound of that, but it's still going to wake you up in the middle of the night.
Did you wake up?
When the 300, 400 car train goes by. Oh, no. I mean, I woke up every time when the train went by.
Did you really?
So cool. Oh, yeah, absolutely. But so cool to be in that space. For those of us who have become imbued with this whole world of Laura Ingalls Wilder, and of course being there, I've always loved Rocky Ridge because to me it always feels like Laura and Almanzo have just stepped away. somewhere, to go into town for an errand, or they're just out of sight somewhere, that you really know that you're stepping into their house. It has completely that vibe to it. So to be in the place that they were living in while they were building Rocky Ridge is a pretty cool thing. And all the details, I mean, one of the fun details, if you look at the picture of Laura on that front porch, the banister of that deck has a very particular kind of cutout. Well, they found a craftsman to recreate that exact same cutout pattern. So it looks, I mean, is it exact? I can't tell you that it's exact. Is it definitely inspired by? No question about that. And you can see that. I'm sorry, I was not, the hours were so crazy. It wasn't quite crazy like FanX crazy, but I didn't stand on the porch or, sit off to the side looking over and being able to composite Laura into that picture. That would have been a great picture to do. And I'm sorry I didn't do that. And oh, well. But no, really fun to be there. And the event was beautiful.
Did you get Laura vibes? I mean, not like it's haunted,
but
totally. Like, did you feel oh my God, she was here. She was here.
Yes. Oh, yes. 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 I mean, when I'm just being in Mansfield, you feel that. And you go into that little town square area, and, there's the little gazebo in the middle of that square, and there were vendors everywhere. This was for Mansfield, a town of 1,300. There were a lot of people.
Hey, that's bigger than Walnut Grove, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's almost twice as big as Walnut Grove. Yeah. So, I mean, they've got a couple of banks, and a couple of gas stations, and, and fast food restaurants, and, they've got, you feel like you're in a community, but it's very, it's very simple. It's very simple, but Rocky Ridge is charming. And this new little house that's going to be available for people to use, it's going to be listed as an Airbnb, and we're going to, put a link up to it so that people can find it. It's going to be packed all the time.
Did you cool. Did you drive one of the horses? Was this story true?
I did.
The infamous.
Yeah, no, I drove a Morgan horse.
The Morgan.
Yeah, I drove a Morgan horse. See, Almanzo grew up with, in Farmer Boy, a great deal of time is spent talking about, really the through line of the story is Almanzo's love of horses. Uh-huh. And I told the Amish man who was the trainer of Johnny Reb was the name of the Morgan. And I told him, look, I have not held lines on a horse. Now, I was just walking behind it because Johnny Reb was pulling a log. They were doing a demo of that. And so I was, I drove the horse round circles and, all that. And very nice horse, very well trained, very similar. This was a 4-year-old Morgan. Morgans are absolutely gorgeous. We did not have Morgan horses on Little House. I mean, we just did that. We had, they were wonderfly trained movie horses. But other than Pa's team, which was a beautiful matched team, the horses were, not spectacular. These Morgans, every one of them are absolutely gorgeous. They are a smaller horse, but a beautifully conformed, just a beautifully conformed horse that you just look at and say, this is like storybook horse. They sort of look like an Arabian, but smaller, and beautiful dispositions, very versatile. You can ride these horses. You can plow with these horses. You wouldn't plow anything heavy because they're not that big, but you can drive them. You can pull logs with them. You can team them up on a single up, double up carriage. They are bred to do everything, and they are wonderful, wonderful animals. The other one that was there, this is sort of cool for there was a 22-year-old mare there, and Morgans can live to be 30. That's an old horse. Well, what makes this even a better story is this 22-year-old mare is with foal now. She is a maiden mare at 22, which is about 65 in human years.
I was going to say, how in horse years? What is that? Oh my God!
It'll be interesting to see how this goes for her. But the mare is absolutely gorgeous, and they aren't concerned about it. Apparently, this does happen. But for a 22-year-old Morgan to be a maiden, and this whole have either of you ever seen a horse breeding? You ever watched that?
No, not a thing that happens in West Hollywood.
I got to tell you, it will change your attitude about sex entirely.
Yeah.
It is a life-altering experience to watch horses bred.
I can only imagine that, but because when I was a teenager, I was at the Bronx Zoo with friends, and 2 giraffes were doing it.
Oh, wow.
It was.
Oh, that would have been interesting.
Insane. No, it was
difficult.
Insane.
Is there a ladder?
Inserted in my brain, permanent memory for life.
Yeah.
I think I was 16 and with my best friend, we were like, ah! So
the first time I saw a horse breeding was in Charlottesville, Virginia. I was in my cousin Tom's barn in Charlottesville, where he raises and trains hunter jumpers. And there were a group of 8, 9, 10, 11-year-old girls in the barn that day in the ring as they brought the stud in, swinging like a baseball bat. And it was just, and these girls are sitting here watching this, and it was like, wow. I mean, the mystery that they know everything they need to know now watching that experience. It was pretty wild. And, it's very empowering stuff to watch horses breed.
Yeah,
it's pretty, and it's very quick. It's very quick. And once it's over, the guy walks away like there was
just like a man, just like a man, quick, and just walks away. If I had a nickel for every time.
There's no pillow talk. I feel myself red.
It's okay. This is Patreon. This is the exclusive stuff they get only on Patreon.
Yeah, no, this is really fun. I mean, this is so patrons. You're getting this is stuff from life.
Lions are quick. I know lions are very fast. Lions at the zoo once, but it was like,
well, they don't have time.
Seconds.
They're the next predator.
Time's just a human construct anyway. That's
really
right.
Fast with lions.
Well, we got off on a tangent here. I think we should get into this because we're running the clock here.
Okay. Well, people
who grow up on farms, know these things. People grow up on farms.
Oh, totally.
See the animals, and they understand that this is how it is.
Yeah, right.
This is how it is.
And you know what? That's how it just should be. It shouldn't be all too complicated.
There should not be a big mystery here. Yeah,
no,
absolutely not.
But also, just to note on your trains, you waking up from the trains. I grew up at 4 blocks from a train, and so we heard it every, early in the morning, late at night, and it was it's such a comforting sound to me. Like, it never woke me up. It's very comforting. And where I am here in Queens, we have, there's a subway which we don't hear, but we do have. Well, it's a really cool bridge called the Hell's Gate Bridge, which connects from Queens into the Bronx into Manhattan. And it's where the Amtrak freight trains go. And also the Amtrak train goes from New York to Boston. Mm-hmm. So you can hear that train and we can see it. Like, I'm in my daughter's room right now, but you can see it from her back window. We can see it from our front window, and it's in the distance, and you can hear the train, whistle every now and then. And I'm so comforted by a train. I just think it's like the most comforting sound at all. So sorry it was disturbing to you, which I understand.
Oh, no, it just woke me up. I don't mind the sound at all.
Yeah.
It's just loud.
Yeah.
But it's not a scary sound. It's not that. It's just this low rumbling, the sound of the wheels rolling across the ties. It's like, it's a train, which is pretty cool because most of us are not living near places where you can hear a train for 24 hours a day, every 90 minutes.
Except randomly me. That's so weird that I have my entire life. But anyway, that's normal. Go. Hey, everybody. This is a very special episode of the Little House 50th anniversary. podcast because we actually did a Patreon segment of a Q&A with our Patreon peeps. And we just wanted to show you what that was like. So if you want to join us on Patreon, come aboard. We welcome you. So I need to say from the studios, maybe not the studios of UBN Go in Burbank, California, and me in New York, this is the Little House 50th Anniversary Podcast, special edition. Okay, so we have people here. They're from all over the place. Thank you for coming and joining us on Patreon. I'm going to try and get to as many questions as I can. And know that, and this happened last time too, if we are done and I didn't get to your question and I know the answers, I will type it in here for you guys so you feel satisfied with your questions. People are saying LeVar Burton, yes. On that. Okay, let's start with some questions. I've got some. First one, Julie Blackwood asks, what were your favorite or least favorite on-location places to film?
You know, from my perspective, the locations were all pretty dramatic and pretty cool. I mean, you know, you're working in a period thing. It's not, you know, it wouldn't be like working in the, you know, whatever the, you know, in lower Manhattan, the subway station that smells like, you know, it's, you
which
know,
I did film exactly that a year ago.
I did that.
Yeah. I mean, it's, you know, it's pretty beautiful everywhere. So I had no complaints about any locations. I'm thinking of the most beautiful ones. I mean, certainly the most beautiful ones were in Northern California, in the Gold Rush country, because it's so unlike Minnesota. But, you know, beautiful, the foothills, the beautiful trees, the rising, the you know, the mountains that rise up, like the wonderful peak that was used for The Lord is My Shepherd. I mean, you know, all of these things, it's absolutely gorgeous. Yeah. So, but Alison, what are your thoughts?
Well, Sonora was the best. We'd go up to Sonora for the camp out where, you know, we follow the river, the panning for gold in the water thing, all, you know, and of course, Lord is My Shepherd and all that. Love that place. First of all, it wasn't, you know, it's not hot. And it was huge pine forests, a mountain with pine forests, and you could fish. I caught trout, and the restaurant like cooked it up for me and everything. And then it was great when we had that one reunion in 95 or whatever. Bob and I went fishing, got trout, and the restaurant cooked it for us. I like trout. I like fishing. It's beautiful in the river, highly dangerous river that I've talked about. Like, don't fall in. But
were you actually really in that river when you guys filmed that?
Yes,
you were?
with the wetsuits under our clothes, so we wouldn't, because if the cold water hits your chest, it just seizes up and you.
How can they control that though? How did
we were in our wetsuits, and
the 70s.
All you have to do is you just have to go this little bit. You just have to mostly be in the water, like at the bank, where spraying up with like a fire hose, water in our faces. But they said, okay, you have to get like from here to here, just from the little raft thing that we're clutching to the shore, just a few feet. But if you lose your footing,
right,
you're current. We've got guys in the bushes. There's a line to grab you. If you miss that, there's a rope across the water. If you miss that, there's a second rope. If you miss that, we pick up your bodies in the next town.
Jeez Louise!
There's a giant waterfall. And we're in wetsuits, so we can hardly move. And that's, of course, we couldn't go to the restroom because we wanted to go to the bathroom. And they said, well, we'd have to put you in the car, take you to the dressing room, get you out of the wetsuit.
Just go.
Just put you back in. And that's why Melissa suddenly turns to me and goes, and I'm like, you did
warmer
not.
Now.
She said, it'll keep you warm. So we peed in our wetsuits. And Wardrobe was not happy. Richeline was not happy. But,
but what are you going to do?
The river
what are you going to do? Exactly.
The meadow and the trees. And also, it was a cute little hotel we stayed at. And there was like a roller rink in town and this little burger place. Me and Annie Marion go for Burton. There was a little store, and Annie Marion would save up for per diem and we'd go shopping. It was this cute itty bitty town. And we always had a good time. Simi, I always was like, God, it's hot. Weirdly, when we went to Arizona, it didn't seem so bad. I don't think we went to Arizona at the height of summer. Maybe we went to Arizona, it was cooler. I don't know.
It might have been a drier heat in Arizona too, though. It's not humid in Arizona.
They knew it was going to be bad, and there was more air conditioning. But again, really cute hotel in like a little town with a pool, and we love that. And real desert with the big giant cacti, the big monster cactus things and cool stuff. And so it's like, Arizona was okay, but it was like really hot, but I like the pool. But when we were in Sonora, I mean, the bats would come out of the mountains, out of the caves, and bats would come down by the pool and swoop down and scare the bejesus out of everybody. And of course I love that. But yeah, I did. I loved Sonora. I loved Sonora. And whereas Simi, I know I keep visiting it now, but dang, it's hot in the summer. I cannot deal with Simi in August.
Did you ever spend any time? Did you ever spend any time on you? Because you were up there on Halloween one time in the cemetery.
I didn't.
Wasn't
Melissa
there a great story about Kent McCrae?
The kids would go in the cemetery, and Kent and Michael and everybody be dressing up as things and jumping up from behind tombstones and scaring all the children silly.
They run home to back to the hotel, back to the Sonora Inn, which was pretty basic. Yeah, but fun. It was fun to be there, and it was fun to watch. A group of people who were sort of like out on a little bit of a vacation. It could get a little crazy. It could get a little crazy on location. I mean, anybody who's
what happens in Sonoma stays in Sonoma. Is it Sonoma or Sonora? Which one was it? Sonoma? Sonora. Yeah, what happens in Sonora stays in Sonora. Got it.
Stays in Sonora.
What happens to people? It's so weird how that happens to human beings, right? Like, why do we think we're going to be okay just in a different town being naughty?
Well, and then to
you're
watch
all
the way
together. It's not like you're going to feel, I don't know. It's very funny. Human beings are weird.
To watch the way people could show up to work on it. I never saw anyone incapable of doing their job, but you could see that people had gotten very little sleep.
The struggle
the first night is always insane, and then it's like let out of the prison and people go bonkers, and then they sort of are recovering for the next 2 or 3 days.
And it's a little town, so there's always a funky little bar. Yeah, and people who live in big cities get to these funky little bars and go, I'm like in another country. And the beer is 29 cents, and no one knows I'm here. And back then, no cell phones to film you, so they would go, I can go wild in this little tiny bar and get drunk with the locals, and nothing's going to happen to me. And it's like, so.
Mrs. Whipple gone wild. I see how it is. Dean, I'm sure you were not someone that went wild, and I'm basing this on the very fun video that I forwarded to you guys. Someone, a very lovely fan, forwarded me a video she found on YouTube, and it was a gala with many performances for Ronald Reagan. This is 1985.
Oh, yes, right.
And it pans to the audience. Everyone was there, and then it pans to the audience, and there's Dean Butler with his 80s hair, looking very young Republican, lovely, 1985, young Republican realness.
I'm sure. Yeah, no, this.
So that guy was not going crazy in Sonora. I'm sure of it.
No, probably not. I did not. I was too concerned about being, about being.
He was saying no to drugs, right?
Yeah, yes, all of that.
All of that.
Now there was one time when Alison, were you in on this where Melissa somehow got the maid to open the door to my room and went in and did lipstick on the mirror of the
evil things too. I did
what
not.
Did it say?
I did not participate in that. I want you to know. I had nothing
what did she write?
Melissa did that too.
See,
it's just like it was like I love you or something. It was it was some like she was suggesting that some flirtatious chambermaid was in the room drawing.
That's funny.
With lipstick. On the mirror, on the bathroom mirror. Yeah. And Well, I mean, I was sort of flattered that happened until Melissa sort of popped to it, that she did it.
Team.
And so that was to deflate, any sense of like what a cool guy I was. To have a woman breaking into my room and drawing on my mirror. Oh, well. So, she was always sort of leveling the playing field.
Okay, are we ready for the next question?
Was needed to be leveled. Go ahead.
Okay, next question. Nikki Carter asks, I just watched the episode Wilder and Wilder. I love that episode, which is one of my favorites. Me too, girl. Me too. In the episode, Charles and Almanzo arm wrestle, and it ends in a draw. Dean, who would have won in a real life arm wrestling match?
Killed me. Yeah. It's not even a close. Yes, that would have been over in about 2 seconds. Michael was lifting weights every day. And
he was like an Olympic trainer. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he was a seriously strong guy. And he would have killed himself before letting me win something like that.
Yep. Yeah. Well,
there's no way I would have won that.
You saw his arms. He did. He was always pumped up. Yeah. He did not forget on day. His arms and chest. Yes, he could have annihilated pretty much anybody in arm wrestling.
I don't know when he had time, but there was a universal gym. So when I came on the show, season 6, we had just moved to MGM. He had a big universal gym setup installed in the back corner of the stage where he was lifting weights during lunch after watching dailies and maybe having a bite of something to eat. And then he'd be back there on the bench press or, doing curls or whatever it was that he was doing. And I went in there a few times. But this was not. I've never enjoyed lifting weights. It's never been something that I've really gotten off on. It's very, at this stage, it would be a very good thing to be lifting.
It's very good for you. Weight training as you get older.
Yeah. Same. It's good. Mm-hmm. But at the time, I just was really not interested. I was running a lot. I was running 50 miles a week, which kept me in pretty healthy. But I was not lifting weights.
Were you lifting weights?
So Michael would have crushed me in that contest.
I have to tell you, as someone watching that episode and seeing the art, you don't understand the stress and tension of the home audience viewer watching Pa and Almanzo do that arm wrestle. It is for real. I love that. I love that I get to tell you guys these things because I know that this is something you probably do not know, and why would you know this? But I'm telling you, for the audience, for the viewer watching you and Charles Ingalls duke it out with the arm wrestling is it's a big deal, and it's so good that it ends without anyone winning, because it's literally like, is Almanzo gonna win? And you kind of wanted to, but then it's like, no, but it's Pa can't lose.
That's
it's very conflicting, but it's a great example of beautiful men being beautiful together.
But literally, when Michael going,
I love the moment early.
It's hot.
But I love the moment early in that when he's practicing.
Yeah.
When he's got the bag of flour or whatever it is, and he's doing this, and Caroline comes in and grabs the thing and it almost breaks his arm. And he does that thing that Michael did so well, where he's sort of like, he's hurt and he's sort of, he's crushed. His ego has been crushed for a moment, and he did that kind of thing really, really well. That was a fun little moment. There were some fun things in that episode.
He was smart doing that, because it really, for the audience, it was like, what is happening?
I love the way he wrote it. I love the way he wrote it so politely. Something about, I kept calling him sir, and he kept, as we're sitting there staring at each other,
good.
Do you have to call me sir? I'm sorry, sir.
It's really good. It's really sweet.
It's a fun little moment.
And then Laura's rooting for him, and then she sees her bond. She's like, and she has to root for him. That's what the audience was doing too. I'm just letting you know that for real.
That's fun.
Okay.
That's fun.
Next question. I love that question. Thank you, Nikki, for that question. Okay.
That's a great question. Yeah.
Diane Parker asks, can you ask Dean? Sure, Diane, here we go. About his Who's the Boss episode, working with Catherine Hellman. Diane Parker. Diane Parker from Diane's from Indianapolis. Thank you, Diane, for your question.
Okay.
Oh wait, I also wanted to ask you: were you not lifting weights when you were on Gidget and you had to be in a bathing suit all the time?
I did. No, I was lifting weights during that.
Okay, all right. Back to Diane's question.
I was in the best shape of my life in the first season of Gidget.
It was like Baywatch light.
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my God. Oh no, it was I could have been right in there with any of those guys at that moment. So no, I worked very hard getting ready for that. I got down to 172 pounds to start that. I'm just under 220 right now. So I was at 172 starting that. And
you're how tall are you? You're 6'6".
Almost 6'1". 6'1".
Oh my God. 175, 6'1". Whoa. Yeah.
And, I was pretty muscled up at that point. I even had the beginnings of a little six pack, which was just like, and that you have to work really hard to get and try and hang on to for any length of time. So I was with a trainer. Yeah. Oh, it's all diet. It's diet and repetition. And, this is the bane of my life is diet. It's absolutely, I struggle with it. I was 20 pounds lighter a year ago. We were, preparing for the event. At the big event in Simi, I was 20 pounds lighter. And
you went into training.
Once the pressure of that released, and I just started eating again. Yeah. I started eating again, and here we are. So,
and every city we've done an event in, every city has a Dairy Queen. Every city has done an event and has a Dairy Queen.
No, exactly. And Alison gave me a Dairy Queen gift certificate after doing something. So I could have a blizzard in every town.
What a bitch.
And I did. Yeah. But
Diane Parker, yes. Who's the boss? Sorry,
one of the cool things about that, like Melissa and I never met before auditioning, before starting to work together. Catherine Heldman wanted to be in those auditions. So Catherine Heldman, when the four or five final guys were down to, Catherine Heldman came in to kiss everybody.
Wow.
Yeah.
She's no fool.
So she wanted.
She's no fool.
She was great fun. I mean, what a great woman she was, and so funny, and really very sexy woman.
Yeah.
In her own sort of quirky way. Yeah. She was really sexy, but she wanted to feel like she knew what she was going to get when this kiss had to happen. So, and they said, you really have to kiss her. So you really got to sweep her up and give her this big kiss. And so I swept her up and gave her the kiss and got the job 20 minutes later.
Yeah. Baby.
That's how it's done.
Okay.
Yeah. I can tell you, never kissed Melissa Gilbert the way I kissed Catherine Heldman.
Sure.
I mean, never.
You would have been arrested.
I'm getting red thinking about it. It just wouldn't have done
man.
I know.
Yeah.
Okay. Tammy Swargman asks, were there any funny moments with Jonathan Gilbert playing Nellie's brother, but also being Melissa's real life brother? There must have been some funny moments. Is there one that sticks out?
Oh, yeah. Well, with all pesky younger brothers, Melissa would often tire of him. I don't want this baby brother anymore, because he would come to her to ask her things like, shut up, leave me alone. And so I said, Jonathan, you can ask me. And I said, he's adorable. And she goes, do you want him? I will sell him to you. Seriously, do you want my baby brother? You can take him home now. I'll just tell everyone he was kidnapped. I don't care. And so she was like, you can have him. So I was like, fine, you're my baby brother now. And so, so that's what's so crazy. I was playing his big sister, because it was his big sister, because she'd go, I have a headache, I can't deal with you.
Yeah.
But also his whole thing, Jonathan was so bonkers. Jonathan would not read the scripts. Right. I remember things it's very odd. When he was reading tiny little baby Willie, he couldn't read when he started. He was a baby, and his mother would read him the scripts, those lines. But then he learned to read, and he still wouldn't read the scripts. And I said, Jonathan, because he would go to Melissa, go, what's happening? What's this? What's that? And she'd go, shut up, go read the script. Leave me alone. Stop. Would you read the script? And I said, Jonathan, why don't you read the scripts? And he said, because I want to be surprised when I see it on television.
It's great. I mean, a great answer.
I mean, I
answer.
think he's a genius.
He was oh my God, wait, I didn't know this part. If you watch, he's always in the moment, right?
He's always watching a game.
Gabs Greer was always in the moment. Jonathan was working the same way.
He wouldn't the cues. He wouldn't read what came right before the cues. He'd like, oh, wow. And he wouldn't read the other dialogue. So Jonathan would just go, what is happening? And so he wouldn't read the script. He had no idea. The door would open. Someone would come in. He'd go, wow. And he ad-libbed a couple times and got away with it. He dropped a line. I mean, the thing where I'm smashing the dollhouse.
Yeah.
And he has a couple lines.
He's so good at that.
I can sell it. It's girl stuff. And then he runs out. There's actually was one more line. I don't even remember what it was, but he runs out and Mary Yerke turns to Michael and goes, wait, because he's going, cut, print. Yes, amazing, fabulous. And Mary goes, wait, there was a line. He goes, what are you talking about? There's a line. And he looks at me, he looks at Jonathan, he looks at me, he looks at the line, he looks at her, he goes, if she was coming at me with that hairbrush, I wouldn't have stayed to say another thing. I think he's right. Strike the line from the script. Jonathan, you're fine. And so he got away with it because his instincts were perfect. But this did make it bonkers. And we're standing there at a funeral scene. And they had fake rain going with umbrellas. And the Reverend Alden's doing the eulogy. God. And Jonathan's in his little suit. And his little head is bowed. And he is being so good. And finally they say, cut, there's a break. And he turns to me and goes, who died?
I wish she'd done it on camera. That would have been just awesome.
Right.
But yeah, so Melissa would just
tone for the episode, perhaps, but still brilliant.
And so I said, no, you fine. Yes, you can be my brother. I don't care. I'll keep you. Sure, fine.
That's great. Funny. We'll be back with more Patreon questions after this.
When you visit Simi Valley, California, you're stepping into the pages of history. Go from the pioneers to the presidents. Explore beautiful wildflowers, hike through iconic Hollywood locations, and end your day aboard the actual Air Force One at the Ronald Reagan Presidential Library and Museum. Throughout the summer, take the Little House 50th Anniversary Tour at Big Sky Movie Ranch. Less than 15 minutes from Los Angeles and 30 minutes from Universal Studios, Simi Valley has small-town charm with big-time history. Go to visitsimivalley.com for more information. We are so grateful to visitsimivalley.com for their commitment to presenting the Little House 50th Anniversary podcast.
Okay, Sharon Dua
special
asks,
talent, yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
I mean, I just love that. I think that's brilliant.
Yeah,
Sharon Dua asks, if there was one episode you could redo, what would it be and why? Now, I've heard Melissa sort of talk about this in past interviews of maybe like the sort of more loving scenes with you, Dean, because she was just so, like the ice bath scene and like she was just so little and didn't have experience that I've heard her say like, ugh, I wish. But is there anything you guys can think of that you'd like to redo?
Well, okay, I'll answer this while you're thinking about it. Also, maybe you have an answer right away. But here, okay, so I'm thinking my very first episode, the first time I had to go onto a looping stage and do, 70 loops in 20 minutes.
Explain what looping is, because some people might not know.
So looping is well, as opposed to ADR, which is automated dialogue replacement, where you are watching the picture and re-recording your dialogue screen. because there's noise and they adjust the microphone for the right distance, and you get a chance to really recreate the moment for yourself. The way we did looping was the old-fashioned way of doing, where literally the sound editor would build a loop of audio tape, mag tape, with 3 beeps in front of the line that you're supposed to repeat. And when they put the loop into the playback, the line, it was beep, 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 Laura, blah, 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 and it would just go continuously. There was no wind up to it. It just kept playing, and you had to go beep, beep, beep. And where the 4th beep would be, that's where you speak. I got so screwed up in that first batch of looping that, I came to realize as I watched the first episode, oh my God, I could screw myself so badly on this, because with the looping, you're literally redoing your performance.
Yeah,
your
exactly.
visual performance doesn't change, but you are redoing your performance audio-wise. And when you see someone, well, listening to Michael's loops, Melissa's loops, Allison's loops, Catherine McGregor's loops, there was virtually, I mean, I'm sure everyone feels different things about what they've looped. But as I'm watching it, I'm thinking, well, this is all good. I completely buy this. I'm listening to what I did in that first episode and like, oh my God, what detached person were you doing this dialogue? It's like, you wonder, like, people have, it's like some Italian spaghetti Western thing. It's just, and they bought it because, you know, they were on a schedule. But after watching the episode, I became much more, and it wasn't that I was trying to do a bad job.
Do you remember a particular line where you're like, oh,
it was the first speech in the buckboard, picking up Melissa on the road as she's walking down the road from school, and she gets in, and we're having this conversation, and I don't know what I was doing vocally there. I mean, I became a complete.
The one where you're like, what? Do you have a nickname? That one? Where you're talking, where the whole Beth is introduced?
I think that was. I don't think Laura Elizabeth was that. I think that was sitting by the feed and seed eating lunch where I was chomping on.
Oh yeah.
Like I don't know. I don't know what the hell I was thinking as I was eating this apple.
Like Catherine McGregor.
My lessons about keeping my mouth closed as I was chewing were completely went out the window during that. It was just. But
it was very real, Dean.
The looping was a devastating reminder or a lesson in how important this was and how badly you could screw yourself if you did not get good at this skill. And when you watch people who did it well, you knew that it could be done really well. There's just a learning process.
Yeah,
you really have to put yourself back in that spot. Yeah. Oh, it's definitely
looping is hard, and you have to learn how to do. I remember when I was like, "You want me to do what? This is not acting. This is nobody told me about this. I had no idea." I hold the thing to your ear, and it went beep beep beep. My mother said, "I'm like, what?" And then I went,
exactly.
"Oh, I just go back just go back and just do it."
And you have to,
and then once you get, you like. Got it. Once you get the rhythm, then it became like everybody became like looping expert. But it's really weird. It's really weird, and it throws people horribly.
I really like doing looping. Whenever I've had the opportunity to do it, it's just so fascinating. It's just really
I love the technology of it.
Did you guys do it on set, or would you have to go into a studio and do it?
No, a special looping stage.
And was that pretty much every episode?
Oh, everything that was shot outside was looped.
Yes,
everything.
Right.
Always wanted to loop outside.
Especially those really far away shots, more panoramic, where the wagon is going across and you're just hearing the conversation.
Oh, well, yeah, no,
happening.
that absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. You'd loop that.
The looping, because the bird, sometimes you'd literally in the loop, you'd hear the bird squawk that like squawked right into the microphone. Right? Well, my mother's you're like, oh, that's why we're looping. Yeah. And just noise out there, outdoors. Yeah. And I had to loop screaming, which was fun. I had to come in because the many sequences where I was freaking out. Just scream. Could you scream for a while?
The famous, you're such a good friend, Nellie. That whole thing had to have been looped.
Right.
Yes. I went to the studio and screamed my head off. They had some wild screams they picked up there, but the noise of the wheelchair rolling in there.
People have no clue, which is what it's supposed to be. But really, if they knew how much looping goes on in a TV show or a film, it's pretty like any scene with a party or a large group or an audience. I mean, like, holy moly, they're actually not talking. It's all voiceover. It's wild.
Wagons and birds and wind and see the wind and the thing and oh my God.
And Alison, remember the jets. We're in the approach pattern of 3 major airports. Every 90 seconds, there's a 737 going overhead. So,
and then sometimes they would go cut plane. And we go wait around the way. Yeah.
It was crazy. And you realize that every piece of dialogue that you hear, if you're on the ranch, it's all been looped. Everything has been looped because on the dubbing stage, you want to have control of every element that's going to be mixed into the final thing. So the final, and it's a monaural mix. You get one crack at this. And you just can't have an extraneous noise where you don't want it. So everything, when you look, there were just like And this was, not a Pro Tools session where you're looking at, 20 tracks or 50 tracks. This was all huge mag reels of sound effects tape that had been built one reel at a time on this dubbing stage. It was a fascinating process to watch the re-recording happen.
I didn't even think about that aspect because, I've done looping in ADR, but of course it's all digital. It's all done with
70s technology.
The 70s, baby. Holy, that's a lot.
This was the best remix technology that money could buy at the time.
We made our TV by, you can't have Little Plane on the Prairie for sure.
No, absolutely not.
Just a killer of dreams, the bell isn't real, the steam whistle isn't real, and now
our crew was the maker of dreams. I mean, they made it feel like it was all perfect.
Except the ice was real. The ice was real, people. Okay, next question.
Ice was real.
Yeah, Jill Hansen asked, I want to know if Richard Bull ad-libbed his little comments that he would make to Harriet, or was that scripted? The rhymes he would do.
Brilliant. What was something about, honey, will you miss me like a crutch? Very much. Yeah, that was one of the great.
They're so funny.
That was scripted because Richard Bull was a freaking genius. Richard Bull, a graduate of the Goodman School in Chicago, and just brilliant, and studied the Melrose Playhouse, all the brilliant man, years of theater, years of television, early TV. I mean, you like I said, you find all these old TV shows. Oh, look, there he is again. And Richard, and brilliant man. And he could make any script sound like he just thought of this and it came out of his mouth at that moment. He was like Mr. Reaction, which was, of course, the perfect guy to get with Catherine McGregor, because you needed someone who said, those eyebrows, the things that happened with his eyebrows on that show. She would do things and say things, and his eyebrows would just go all over like one eyebrow, and the faces, the pained expression of what is that woman doing now. Absolutely brilliant. It was so real. You just went, this is real. And he would open his mouth, go, Nellie, Willie, what did Harriet? And you believed every single thing he did, because part of it was real. It was great to be able to react to her. You'd see her do stuff and you'd want to go, what are you doing? So it made it real for him. But the guy was a genius, and he made all those little asides and everything he did sound like absolutely like it just came into his head at that second. Every single thing. He was that kind of guy because he was brilliant. Just freaking brilliant.
I will say also, as an audience member, as a viewer of the show, you were so always tortured by that relationship because you wanted him to be with. It was perfect the way that they did it, because on one hand, you sort of did understand why he was with her. On the other hand, it was like, what are you doing with these horrible children and this horrible woman? And you loved him so much. And I guess the only redemption is his kids turned out okay. But my God, that was a journey. Yes. That was a journey to get there.
Always had those episodes where they would admit, where they'd sort of break down and go, but I really love you.
Yeah, exactly.
That was the redeeming.
That's the only reason why the audience went, oh, okay. Because down underneath all of it, he really loved her. Yeah, he loved her, and she really loved him.
And she did the whole thing about, he married me because half interest in my father's story. No, he freaking loved her. Why? Yeah. We're not totally sure. But he he loved her. You kind of get right that when she was young, because as we know, when Catherine McGregor was young, she was stunningly beautiful, the jet black hair, the blue eyes. So obviously Mrs. Olsen was a looker when she was young, and she would have been wild and spirited and feisty and smart. I guess he went.
Yeah, would have been a lot of fun.
I just want to say,
crazy fun to be with. Yeah,
and she was smart and assertive, and
oh boy, no kidding,
guys
in spades.
In spades. I just want to say
he fell for her. It all makes sense. I just want to say,
Christine, who's one of our social media goddesses, who's monitoring Christine. All this, is texting me about this very thing at the moment. And Christine, I'm calling you out. He was almost perfect except for cheating on Harriet. Second Spring, that poor Irish woman.
Oh yes.
But
Oh,
she
she said.
said-
Oh, and Joy said.
But
Joy,
did he really
who's the other-
cheat on her? He didn't
did.
really.
Joy
he
said
wanted to, but he
we
didn't.
can't forget that episode. I say it was his one shot, and I'm not mad about it at all.
He got emotionally involved with the younger woman. He did.
Entangled.
Yes, he got
Is that
emotionally
entanglement.
involved. But
Christine said they kissed on the lips. Charles caught them. The proof is right here, folks. I didn't mind
I
it.
don't
He
remember that.
he needed it. He needed it. I'm gonna give him this one.
You forgive him. Well, he came to his senses.
He did. He did.
Yeah, he came to his senses. Yeah.
Okay, next question. Jennifer Fiegels asks, Allison, what was the most challenging episode for you?
So many. I mean, as I always said about Little House, it was so much fun to do, but it was a physically challenging show and a role, because as you're hearing about all these locations and falling in rivers and falling down and wagons tipping over and oh my God, and the heat and the cold and the lying in beds of ice or like all the, I mean,
I couldn't
they
have taken the
physically
heat.
put us through it. So yes, so everything was challenging. So I'm going to do what? But acting was challenging. As I said, picking on the stuttering girl, the beautiful Katie Kurtzman, and I was talking about this.
I knew you were going to say that one. Yeah.
So hard because Katie Kurtzman, very good actress, went on to Hotel. She did not really stutter. I mean, she played Caroline in a flashback.
Right.
She was very good. So she's crying and stammering, and I'm making her say Peter Piper, pick to pick. Pickle, I can barely say it myself.
So awful.
Say
She's
it faster.
so awful.
I can't hear you. And she's crying, and I'm having to look at her, and she's melting down, and I'm screaming at her, and I'm like, whoa, this is unpleasant, because I've talked about this. I had a speech impediment. Was a little girl. I couldn't say the letter F. I was like stuck.
You're
like
also a ridiculously nice person. Like
I guess I'm
you are
not a monster.
Nowhere close to that character, right?
I went to speech class after school. I was friends with the people who stammered and stuttered and had speech impediments. Oh, right. Like that's what was my friends. I'm not going to pick on the stutterer. And I was in speech class myself. Like, oh my God. So that would like be a bad thing. And it was just so awful. And so I went, this is really bad. So yeah, I was kind of going, ooh, this is that. But I did it because I went, wow, this is intense. And people do this, and people are this awful. And this is the thing that happens. Yeah. And so I went there and did it. But I was like, yeah, this is creeping me out. But by God, I did it.
Yeah,
it
truly
shows
evil.
you had a conscience. It shows you had a conscience, and a lesser person might not have been bothered by all that.
I know,
but the fact that bothered you said that showed that there was this light of goodness in you. That
Oh yeah, no, I was doing it. I was totally like, yeah, I was like, as I said, it's the episode where I hate me. I was like going, this is horrible.
Yeah, it's bad.
Yeah.
Okay, next question. Jason hit. Oh, he asked me a question. Jason Hicks, Pamela, I loved Living on a Prairie. Yay. Yeah. Has there been any efforts to bring a full series to streaming platforms?
Oh, boy. No kidding. Wow.
Also, do you have any other projects in the works? Okay. Yes, I've been working for several years of trying to get Living on a Prairie on a streaming service. I do have a full half-hour 2-season arc and a pilot written, and it's good to go. It just needs a yes from someone. So I've been in talks with many people. Dean's been in on this. And the struggle is real. So it just takes that one person, but we're still working on it. And there have been talks about, do we make a film? Do I do a one-woman stage version of it? Do we try it? So things there are many possibilities.
If you do the stage version, can I come on and be the therapist again?
Yes.
Because I would do that.
Absolutely. Girl, let's get some work. Yeah. No, that definitely.
I'd come to the gym and look in the door and say only in New York. I mean, I do that.
The fun. Dean's favorite episode is Bonnetheads Anonymous. I do cackle every time I see that episode also. But no, the half-hour version is much more about the character of Pamela and her life and her crippling social anxiety, and how Little House is just sort of her device to feel safe and included in the world. But anyway, so yeah, we're still working on it. We're still working on it. There are possibilities. It ain't over till it's over. And currently, I've been in rehearsals these past couple of weeks. I'm in the last week of rehearsal for a workshop for a new musical. That's
awesome.
I didn't write it, but I was cast in it. So we're doing industry presentations on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday for that. So that's been great.
Wow.
The music.
So how are you feeling about it now, 4 days away from your first performance?
Workshops are wild because they're not completed, right? Like they're
right.
It's completed enough to have a presentation for industry producers, investors, whatever. Mm-hmm. But, it's still a work in progress. So, there are things that still need work, and then there are things that are absolutely glorious and incredible. And there are things in this show. It's called Signs of Life. It's called Signs of Life, and the composer-writer his name is Christopher Gilbert. And this score is just... I will say it is rare that you get a perfect score. And this is every single musical number in this show is like extraordinary. And the people in this room are stupid talented. It's one of those rooms where like you walk in and you're like, I cannot believe I'm in this room full of these people. Right. Because it's just the top tier Broadway, New York City actors, singers, artists who are doing it, and we're all in awe of each other. So it's been a very loving experience as well, because we are all in awe of each other, which is fabulous.
That's a nice place.
And we just are like enamored with each other, and everyone's been beautiful on the inside. Is just generous and kind, and it just the whole thing has just been a really lovely experience. And let me tell you, they're not always like that. So I'm very grateful. Yeah, I'm very, very, very grateful for that. And then the final thing, God, I've been really busy, you guys. So the final thing is I've co-written a show that will be happening here in New York, and I'll be promoting it and stuff at Green Room 42 in New York City on December 3rd, 5th, and 6th. And it's a very anti-Little House on the Prairie fan type show.
I'm sorry.
And now for something
Little House on the Prairie
different.
fan?
So no, not in terms of it is a very edgy, sort of PG-13 plus SNL sketch comedy Christmas show. So it's sort of like fun. It's like the anti-Christmas show. It's very funny. We have some really fun music in it. Everything from RuPaul to the Carpenters to Three Dog Night to Britney Spears. And
so you're using tracks.
We're using real music, but within sketches. And the cast is again. Our cast is insanely amazing. We have someone from Mad TV coming to do it. We have the star of Spamalot in it. I'm going to be in this one. And our choreographer, Sarah Jenkins, choreographed for Girls 5 Eva on Netflix and Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. And it's just like an insane, like it's insane that it's happening. Awesome. It's insane that it's coming to fruition. So I'll be talking about it more once we get a little closer. But yeah, so I've been busy, and it's been wonderful, and it's been a really great creative year, this podcast included, with all of that. So thanks for asking, Jason Hicks. That's very kind of you. And also let me just say, if you have not watched Living on a Prairie, please watch Living on a Prairie. Come on, guys. I know you're out there and the reason it's not really begging, fun. But the reason why I'm saying this is because the likelihood of it being able to perhaps be sold to a Netflix or an HBO or whatever it is if the likes and subscribe on YouTube go viral. So the way to do that, if all of the Little House on the Prairie people just liked and subscribed Living on a Prairie, we'd have a show.
Oh, right. Hello. Ding, 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 ding.
There are millions of you guys.
So are you putting, is Living in the Prairie always in the show notes?
Yes.
Okay,
it's always in the show notes.
Okay,
I had the cards out at FanX. I made people take the cards, and many of them knew about it. And the lady who moderated the panel with me and Melissa knew all about it. And
you're kidding! I love that. Oh, yes. That's
and it was
great.
A big room that panel was in with a lot of people.
That makes me feel fantastic. Yeah. Just please like the like button on it and subscribe to it, because if we can make it go viral, then the likelihood of me actually being able to really, really do it go up quite a lot. So anyway, last question. Lisa Ann Fanning asks, is there anything from Little House that you put into practice in your real life?
Oh,
who's churning butter? Who's churning butter at home? No one. Who's selling your eggs? Nobody.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Well,
I mean, at the risk of giving a really sincere answer, I think, the lessons of Little House of sort of overall goodness.
Yeah.
Are I think that's what sticks is is that feeling that if nothing, it's like you're a part of this thing, that this project that's all about goodness and decency and thoughtfulness and compassion for other people and generosity. Yeah. And the reminder of that makes you look at the world a little differently, I think, and maybe not every minute, but at times when it really matters, I think you look at the world a little differently. So,
but that's same for the
that's been
fans.
A really good thing.
That's same for the fans. It filters your world view and your world experience. Absolutely.
And the work ethic, between the work ethic of like the people of the prairie and the characters, Michael Landon's work ethic of we're going to get this thing done come hell or high water. Yeah. And that thing is made. I mean, I was teased by a friend in New York, Chip, and that, booking our flight out to the Rochester Fringe and everything. And I went and booked the flights like insanely early in the morning, which turned out to be great because there was a big storm. And had we not gone early, we totally wouldn't have gotten there. And it was a thing. But when we had to get up early and we were in the cab, and he said, curse you and your child actor work ethic. Curse you and your prairie work ethic that you made me get up this early. And I said, yes, but we turned out to be right. But yes, it permeates every part of my life. We had a prairie moment here during one of the big rainstorms up here in Tonga. When we first moved in, there was apparently a leak in the garage, something where the water didn't go down the driveway, but back into the garage, like insanely so. Like there was a little hole in the door, like water pouring in like a fire hose into the garage where we had boxes of things. And Bob and I were on our knees in the water trying to plug the hole, getting water in the face. And it was a terrible moment where, like, we got furniture in there that's going to get wrecked. We're trying to stop the flow of water. And then we burst out laughing hysterically because I turned around and went, Charles, we have to save the farm. And we just suddenly were Charles and Caroline in like a hailstorm trying to save the crops. And we just like lost our minds and started laughing. We had our prairie moment.
I was listening today to our friends at Pop Culture Preservation Society. They have a fabulous podcast, and it's all 70s, 80s nostalgia. They're fabulous women. And today, I listened today to their episode. They were doing all of these shows that premiered in 1974. And they were celebrating like the 50th anniversary of like, Chico and the Man and, Happy Days and all of these amazing shows that premiered in 1974. And the last one was like the most impactful one was Little House on the Prairie. But they said something that I had never heard before, which was, talk about work ethic, which was Michael Landon, apparently, Little House on the Prairie was the only show that stayed in production during the writer's strike. What was it, 1980? 1980? It was in the early 80s. They said it was the only one that stayed in production because he had,
and we stopped.
Well, maybe they're incorrect then, but they were saying that he had the actors sign or people sign special contracts that they were able to work.
No,
that's not
we
true.
all sat on our behinds during there was an actor's strike, 81,
Where did they get
I think
this
that
info
was,
from?
and we all went home until it stopped.
Where did they get this info from?
Because he also wasn't in charge. He absolutely, if it wasn't NBC, unfortunately, was holding, the cash bag. So NBC absolutely went out on strike as actors against NBC. We were out, and that was all, including him, and waiting to go back. And then we went back with an absolute vengeance. I think it happened in the middle of my pregnancy with the twins. So I was technically pregnant for a year and a half. It was really bonkers. And we were all home, and it was very, very difficult. And Steve, Tracy and I were on the strike committee, the series players committee on the strike force with people from MASH and everything else. It was really intense.
I wonder where they got that info.
But yeah, I believe if we'd been dealing with the writers' strike, it's kind of like the stories about Leno paying the writers and stuff. I'm sure that would have been a thing.
Yeah.
But NBC was holding the bat and the ball and the cards, and they sure weren't doing that. So
maybe it was maybe Michael compensated people. Who knows? But they said it, and I was like, I've never heard this before. This is interesting.
No, we did not. We did not work during any strikes. No, sir.
Now, he could have been writing during a strike. Of course, he could write during a strike. I mean, because he's at home, he can do what he wants to do. Yeah, I mean, he could do that, and then he just submits the scripts and gets paid when the strike's over. I mean, obviously, nothing was going to be shot during the time that there was a strike. That strike.
Oh, he absolutely could
until you run out of scripts.
And prepare,
yeah, but I don't think that. I do not have a recollection, and I don't want to say that the podcast is absolutely wrong, but I wonder. Have a perception of crossing a picket line.
Never. I have heard this rumor before, and I think they were saying that during the actors strike, we never signed a special contract. I know that. Obviously during the 1980 actors strike, I was on the picket line in front of Paramount with Steve Tracy and others. And I know that it was very financially difficult, and there were several cast members who did actually front some other cast members' rent at various moments during it when things got intense. We did all take care of each other and go, do you need anything? But it was really hard. But we didn't cross any picket lines. I know we called me. Did you need anything?
No, nobody gave me a call on that.
It was bananas.
But then, to be fair, I didn't call anybody else and ask them if they were okay either.
I don't know. Cooked your dinner. Yeah. We did not cross any picket lines. I don't remember any special agreements. Yeah. I can see where Michael could have been writing shows and prepping them, because as we know, he prepped all the direction and in his head, so that as soon as we went back, because that's something I noticed when we went back, some places were having to shoot 2 episodes at a time. It was very chaotic when it went back. When we went back, it was like, and now he had everything ready to go. Like as soon as we went back, we walked in the door. It was like, go. So maybe organizationally he was, but no, and I have seen that rumor on the internet before. And they had a whole thing that we were working during the strike, and we had a special agreement with the network. And I'm like, nah. Okay. So it's a weird internet rumor. It's like that Nellie Olson's real name was Danielle. That also did not happen.
That's random.
Nellie is an old name that goes back to the early 1800s. Danielle really started popping up in America in the 50s. So, no.
That's quite bizarre. Did Dean just disappear? He's out.
Did we lose him?
I guess that's his way of saying it's time to wrap things up. I just want to say, Joy and Christine sent me the picture. Here's the proof.
He did
kissing the Irish woman. I know it's true. I'll still give it to him. He needed that for himself. Anyway, you guys, this has been amazing. I don't know why Dean disappeared, but he disappeared. But anyway, we have to leave anyway. I will try and answer any of these questions on Patreon that have not been answered that I know the answer for. If I don't answer them, know that we can use them for future episodes. We answer your questions all the time. This has been a very fun Patreon segment. We are going to release this on Thursday as for our podcast.
Because I'll be in France for starters.
Because Alison's going to France, and I'm Oh, he said, Dean said, battery died, stupid Almanzo. It's okay. We were wrapping it up anyway. But, right, you're off to France in October, so you'll probably be joining us at some point.
I will zoom in at some weird time. Yeah.
France. And we'll be back, you guys. So thanks so much. Thanks for joining us on Patreon. You guys rock. You're the best. And
Thank you. We love you.
Thanks, everybody. Visit simivalley.com, sponsored all of this. I'm sure we'll cut to a commercial for them right now. And anything I need to add? I don't think so. Join us on Little House 50 Podcast, littlehouse50podcast.com. And you know the deal. Everything will be in our show notes, events, all that good stuff. Living on the Prairie. If you haven't watched it, go for it. Safe journey, Allison. Have fun in France. All right, everybody, it's that time. Bob, get the wig. Ready? Let's fly, people. Flying on Patreon. Flying on Patreon. Do you think we're jumping yet?